Okay, let's do this. All right, everybody, welcome to the next version of the Proptech Genius Show. And I'm celebratory of the summer. I've got the beach background in full effect, and the waves are going. It's awesome. I had to do like this for the waves. But anyway, so this is awesome. And the next genius up, the genius for today is Shawn Bhatti. I say that right, Bhatti? I say that?
Close enough. Yeah, it's Bati. The H is kind of silent, but it's very common. So thank you.
All right. Well, I got to remove my AI thing that follows me around everywhere. So that's cool. Okay. Well, cool. All right. So wait, say your last name then. What is it?
So it's Bati, but you had it right.
Bati? Bati. Okay. I got you. See, I had all this time before I hit record, y'all, and I can ask him how to pronounce his name. And worst podcast host ever. I forgot. So that's all right.
No,
Okay,
no,
let's
okay. It's
do this.
Pakistani. It's not a very common name. So
Oh,
no
well,
worries
that's
about
cool. That's cool.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
did you grow up in Pakistan or where'd you grow up?
I did when I was very young. Our family, when I was like 5 years old, we lived in Lahore for a couple of years. My mom and dad were missionaries, and
Hmm.
then they moved back here mainly because my mom had a health condition. It was pretty tough. So all
Oh,
in
wow.
all, can't complain. So I'm very
Yeah.
grateful.
So were you born in Pakistan or were you born in the US?
My father was actually born in Pakistan, so
Okay.
he's an immigrant, but my mom's German by background, so she's
Oh, yeah. See?
yeah.
Yeah.
So she was born in like Hershey, Pennsylvania, of all places, like that area.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's where she's from, I should say. And I grew up in that area, the Hershey, Lancaster area, most of my childhood. So
Very cool.
I,
That's
I was
awesome.
born, to answer your question, I was born in South Carolina, so I am a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, this whole birthright, we're not going to get into it. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk
Yeah,
prop tech. I don't want to get into
yeah.
this whole like, are you born here? Are you really, really? Okay. All good. All right, well, cool. So where did you first started before you started your company? How did you get into it? What's the story? Tell me the story.
Yeah, so I have a very, unconventional story as far as how I got started in real estate. I joined the U.S. Marine Corps straight out of high school.
Awesome.
Did 5 years. Did two deployments overseas.
Hoorah.
Hoorah, Semper Fi.
Yeah,
And
exactly. My dad's a Marine, so I can say that. That's the only reason I
oh,
can
it's
say it.
incredible. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's one of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got out in 2017, and while I was in the Marine Corps, ironically, I was doing meteorology and like atmospheric science, which is really not something you think about when someone says they're a Marine. But I was working,
True.
typically with the Air Force and other U.S. military members to provide weather support,
Mm-hmm.
for commanders and officers and pilots.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically decided to pursue atmospheric science and started working for the National Weather Service in 2020 after I got my degree.
Awesome.
Quickly, I started buying up properties, 5 years ago. Did this thing called house hacking where you buy a house and you rent out the rooms.
Yep.
I used my VA loan to do that. And through that time, I had really just bought other properties in areas that were a little bit more affordable because I live in South Florida and it's quite hard to cash flow here. Um,
Mm.
and I
Okay.
kind of did the typical investor thing where you start listing the bigger pockets and kind of got
Yeah.
inspired by the people's stories. Started flipping some houses, did the burst strategy. But really through that time, I was quite frustrated with the lack of tools that were available for things such as valuation, urban analysis,
Mm-hmm.
risk making, risk taking, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what led me up to this point.
Yeah. Did you ever take Neil Bawa's class? Did you ever
I've
listen to
actually watched
Neil?
his videos. Yeah, I've actually watched his videos. I have not
Yeah.
taken his class, but yeah, he's quite a fascinating personality. So he's
Yeah, yeah, it's really kind of funny. So for beginning investors, he's right. Like a lot of the stuff that he's like for housing, like the indicators that he's looking at are right. Now they adjust over time. You can't, whatever, if you're looking at something from 2021, that does not apply to today. I mean, generally it does, but you're going to have to do a little bit of changes. But but yeah, no, I mean but looking at the categories you have to look at, right? Job growth, wage growth, crime rate, all these other different things that you want to kind of look at, and that makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just and it's always good to see how other people underwrite deals, how other people evaluate deals, how other people kind of do that. And it's definitely for sure a I don't know how to explain it. Like when you're doing market selection on, and that's what his one of his tools does. It was basically, okay, what market do you want to be in? That was one of his tools that he was talking through, and that's what we're talking about. It does okay. I mean, it does okay. It's not perfect, but no tool is, and there really isn't a lot out there. You're right. Like when I started real estate investing way back in the day, 2008, I didn't have anything. I was
Yeah.
doing everything in Excel, and a lot of people still do, by the way. Excel is the real estate tool of choice. Like there isn't a lot for
That's what it is. Yeah.
underwriting and just doing any sort of calculations on asset management. It's all done in Excel. Like it's sad.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah, it's
sad.
funny because we've thought about like developing an underwriting tool, and then we're like, I don't think we should do this because then we have to compete with Microsoft Excel, and everyone's got their
Yeah.
own
They've
kind
got
of
their own
different
little
underwriting
thing.
strategy format.
Yeah.
They spend
No.
maybe a ton of money
Yeah.
on this spreadsheet, and they just don't want to give it up. It's their baby, so that's something that we've kind of decided to
Yep.
put off right now, just because of how popular Excel is, like you said.
It is, and it's the fallacy of Excel. You will underwrite a deal thinking, and there's broken links, broken formulas, everything in there. That's the problem with Excel. And you'll underwrite a deal because you think everything's fine, hunky dory, and you don't realize that you have like a broken link in there. It's throwing everything off. I know, I've done it. Like I
Right.
went to a deal. I went to the table. And no joke. And right before I did it, I just kind of validated some of the numbers again. And I didn't realize that my insurance was like way too damn low. And it almost killed the deal. Like it really did kill. I mean, it was super close. Like now my margins went like from here to like here, but it was still enough for it to make sense. But I could have been totally on the other side of that and went and did a deal based on my stupid Excel sheet and it had a wrong number in it. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, ugh. Yeah.
That's what's
It's
amazing
it's
about real estate. Yeah. You can
yeah.
have one thing, or you hear the story of someone underwriting a new construction project in Los Angeles, for example, and then
Yep.
the city won't improve their electrical inspection, and the next inspector's not available for 3 months, and they didn't
Yep.
underwrite, 3 months or
Oh
whatever,
no.
and
No.
they're
Yeah.
overrun. So it's pretty
Yeah.
fascinating.
When I was a GC, the I we never went to California, so I will say we were in 16 states. I was building projects in 16 states. I've been in like hundreds of municipalities. The worst one I was ever in was the city you're in, was Miami, Florida.
Wow.
It was brutal to build in Miami, Florida. Like it
Yeah.
was just like,
Yeah, it's per
yeah,
square
not a
foot, it's pretty
fan.
expensive. Yeah, I
Not a
mean, because
fan.
you have the hurricane building codes, and
Oh, it's
obviously
not
there's a
even
lot.
that. It's not even
Yeah,
that. It's dealing with the city of Miami. Like it was,
yeah, they're
I
extremely
mean, I
slow.
could, oh, they not, yeah, but yeah, I don't want to get into that story. That story requires lots of beer. That's a beer story. And you sit
Yeah, you're
down
in a
and
good
go,
mood right now. Let's not
yeah.
get you into that.
All right, so talk about your technology, what it is. Talk about it.
Yeah, it basically encompasses a few different components. So when you think about like the core problem I was trying to solve was, or we were trying to solve, was valuation, right? So like
Hmm.
obviously there's other companies that do that to some degree,
Yep.
but I would argue that there's several kind of aspects they're not necessarily considering in their valuation models. Um, And where we started with this was like, how can we develop a heuristic for how desirable a location is, all the way down to the block group?
Hmm, interesting.
So when you think about like what a geography is, like the U.S. Census Bureau designates counties, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with, down to county subdivisions, which are like towns, cities, boroughs, things like that, and then census tracts, which are much smaller and can be thought of as neighborhoods. And then within those census tracts are actually block groups or micro neighborhoods. So, you probably have heard as a real estate investor, oh, you go one block over in Philadelphia, it's so different over there, or New York City
Yeah.
or Chicago or any
Oh,
any
yeah.
dense region. And it's like, okay, so why is it then when like I pull up a comps report that it's showing me a building in that neighborhood that's much more or less desirable, depending on
Oh,
what
for
subject.
sure. Yeah, they do it within a mile. That's the standard. It would say within a mile it should be the same. But yeah, no, you're right.
Right. Yeah. And that's just the thing that's so interesting is, me being a geography nerd, having worked in atmospheric science and such, just like there really are micro location differences that you have to account for.
Hmm.
And if you don't, you'll get burned. Like
Hmm.
if you're building a project, in Austin, for example, there's probably some developer that came in thinking that this
Yep.
C or D neighborhood was a B neighborhood. And
Oh, for
when
sure.
they finish they underwrite rent, so we'll get 2,000 a unit, and turns out they can get
Mm-mm.
1,600 at most, and then they're underwater next thing you
Hmm.
know. Um,
Yeah,
so
but I owned a property. I could be your case study or story or whatever. I, no joke, owned a property literally on the wrong side of the tracks. I was in College Station, Texas, a half mile away from B class. It was a B class property. Mine was a B class property. Theirs was a B class property, but because they were literally on the other side of the tracks, they could get $100 to $200 a month more, like 20 to 30% more a month in rent that I ever could. I could never push my rents. There was no way for me to do it. And it literally is this micro, like what you're talking about. It's so true. It is absolutely so true. Even a little town of College Station, Texas, where Texas A&M is. Like, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, and it's fascinating just how, again, such a small radius, but such large differences. And I realized this with my own properties because I was like, hey, I have a property in downtown Lancaster and I was trying to rent it out. And right across the street, I knew this having been to the location, but it's like, how do I actually model this, right? Like, how can we actually physically model this? Because it's not something that's like you can't go to Zillow or any of these other websites and intuitively see that this location is maybe more or less desirable. So I kind of like to think of what we built as like, what Walk Score did for walkability and amenities. That's kind of like what we built for
Mm-hmm.
location desirability. So it's effectively just looking at income, education, job diversity, housing value, affordability, all these different metrics that you kind of think of in your head when you're making this aggregation of how desirable an area is. And we've actually
Mm-hmm.
used data science and machine learning to do that at scale for nearly
That's
400,000
awesome.
properties.
Are you mostly focused on like 4 units or less? Is that kind of where you're hanging? Is that
So
what
right
you're
now
doing?
our AVMs, yes, we do 4 units and less. However, we are developing an AVM for 5+ units as well.
Okay.
We're very excited with the early results so far.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some of what differentiates kind of the different modeling aspects. But yeah, with five
Yeah.
plus units, it can be really tough to get data for larger multifamily. Like a lot of smaller multifamily properties are on the MLS, so
Mm-hmm.
that data is pretty easy to gather for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But there's as you know with CoStar and some of these other companies, it's quite difficult to actually get these data sets. So we
Oh,
have
I'll hook you up. We'll talk after the show. I'll hook you up. You'll get it. Don't worry. I got a
I
source,
may
man.
pay I may pay an arm and a leg, but it's okay.
No, no, no. No, it's really cool. I'll show you. I'll show you. And that is the beautiful thing of the U.S. Proptech Council, y'all. If I'm going to take a second, we hook you
Yeah,
up with
shameless
stuff. It's
plug.
awesome for your
Shameless
startups.
plug.
Yes. Shameless plug. Be a part of
Yeah.
the council. We can hook you up with cool stuff. I'm just saying out loud. Okay, cool. All right. So, well, awesome. So you're focused there. And then you're focused on desirability. You're doing like a desirability score, or is that what you're kind of working on? Because I can
Yeah.
see how this would really work with it is kind of like a missing link, right? You can do comparatively to other 3.2s or whatever, or quads that have the same unit mix or whatever it might be. In that area, quads are difficult to value, by the way. It's like one of the
Right.
like duplexes you can kind of get there, but a quad or a triplex, those are just hard to value sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but if you kind of see like if that's what you're looking at, that desirability thing, that's pretty cool. I mean, I think that is a missing link. And then also, because a lot of times what people do is they just compare it to similar size, whatever. Sometimes you don't have a triplex or a quad to compare it to. And so then you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, but then also if there's other things like where I think this is where I think real estate valuation goes. You have your piece, which is super awesome. And then they actually have the building data itself. And now you can take a look at the building, how well it's maintained, what's the actual true like asset life of all the components inside that building. Like you can look at each building from a building performance score. So now you have your desirability score, you've got a building performance score, you have kind of what everybody else around you. I think valuation gets super cool. I think it's one of the things that AI is great at. It takes unstructured data and makes sense of it, right? That's what AI is, man. It's like, let me just take all this like lakes of data and let me show you what I see and what patterns I can come up with. It's gonna be great. Yeah, but your piece is really cool for sure.
Yeah, and
It's
we do a
what
lot of we do a lot of the things you mentioned as well with building data. I mean, like to give you an idea of a lot of other, I guess, proprietary use cases or data extraction methods we use. So we have a fine-tuned large language model which looks at listing descriptions and feature
yeah,
spaces of the entire property. It says, okay, this says that there's central air. This says that there's two off-street parking spaces. So like
cool.
obviously that makes a difference in valuation, right? So we're
Yep.
able to encode that in our SQL database
Yeah.
and as part of our machine learning pipelines. And then there's also, what's the condition of this property? So we've developed our own, not an LLM, but actually our own kind of machine learning model that we built from scratch, which basically takes pictures of properties and classifies them like an appraiser. What is a C1 new construction? Is
Uh,
this like C5 needs repair? Is it kind of somewhere in the middle?
mm,
Every property in our database has also gone through that process as well. So our AVMs,
that's cool.
they've been trained on condition, whether the property
Hmm.
central air, et cetera. Um,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
big part
I
of
mean,
that.
wouldn't it be nice if all the real estate agents wrote their words in the same way? So that way, but does your AI can your AI distinguish? Because that's what RESO is all about, by the way. The Real Estate Standards Organization came out and they basically all they're trying to do is to get people to write the same damn thing in the MLS listing. So BDRM is bedroom, not bed RM or whatever, or, like, or
Yeah,
bedroom is you know what I mean? It's like, or BD, or, it's like something simple like that, but it makes a difference but maybe we don't need to do that. And Riso is going to get replaced by AI. I don't know. It just
yeah.
because AI could tell, right? They don't care. It goes, oh, that's bedroom. I'm pretty sure that's what that means, right?
Well, yeah, and you brought up something interesting earlier with why quadplexes are difficult, for example. And we've seen a lot of bad data entry on small
Mm-hmm.
multifamily properties in the MLS. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, it's a 4 unit, but the agent types in 4 times 4, so it becomes 32 beds and 16 baths instead of eight
I
beds and four
know.
baths.
Yeah, I know. I
And
know.
we have ways of cleaning that using LLMs and like
Mm-hmm.
actually we have the saying and we have the saying in atmospheric science, garbage in, garbage out. So it's the same concept of any
Yep.
modeling. If your data is garbage, your output's going to be garbage.
Yes,
So we
for
take a
sure.
lot of like, pride in really cleaning and standardizing these data sets so that you can actually get really meaningful
Mm-hmm.
predictions.
Yep.
So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I know. Mm.
yeah, and one other thing we didn't get to cover is our crime heat map, which I'm excited to show that as well. But
Oh,
um,
cool.
yeah, so I like to think of like if you think of a company like Placer AI and what they did with retail footprint data, which is really fascinating. They kind of took all these different data extraction methods, basically normalized it, and provided an extremely useful product for not just retail investors, but office and all the
Mm-hmm.
other use cases. And we
Mm-hmm.
kind of see the same like opportunity with crime data because it's so
Yep.
important for so many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also quite hard to visualize because you have crimes that are quite deleterious to society, like aggravated assault or burglary, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like a standard crime product. It's just an icon on a map. So like visually, it's not intuitive that this is actually much worse than like petty theft or trespassing. So what we've done
Yeah.
is we've normalized all these different crime sources so you can
Mm-hmm.
compare like Los Angeles to New York, because they have
Yep.
different reporting formats. It's all in our database, and then you can just toggle it on our map, and you can see visually where crime is very very high. Um,
Yeah, that's awesome because in the multifamily lending space, that makes a difference. A lender will walk away from a property if the crime data. But the bad thing is the crime data can be really bad data. Like it's not even right data. Like you could have one incident and but they don't have context, right? So you can say you have one incident here, but there hasn't been an incident there in like 30 years, right? But you
right.
get one incident and you basically don't get a loan anymore. Like we're going through all of my PTSD from all of my multifamily deals
Yeah.
that I've ever done in my life because I did workforce housing, man. I was like, just above
Yeah.
affordable and I was not doing luxury. So we had to worry about crime like all the
Yeah.
time. And I would go and buy stuff and I was a value add girl and I would fix it up and
Yeah.
make it better. But yes, we always had to worry about crime. I mean, we prayed before we closed our loan, please nobody do anything stupid. Please, if you're gonna do it like 2 miles away, please, because you
Well,
just because it was gonna kill your deal.
yeah, and
So
that's unfortunate too, because I mean, now you'd be able to say, well, look at pad stats. There's no crime on their map, and like, where are you pulling your data from? You know, because
yeah,
we pull our data directly from the city source, and we update it very frequently. So
yeah,
all these cities like Austin, Seattle, San Francisco, a lot
yep,
of them have like an open data hub that you can tap into,
oh
and then
yeah,
we take the data and we normalize it, and
yep,
then we plot it for you. So I think, and a couple other things that are important. We do not embed crime data in our valuation models because, like you said, there can be reporting bias, there can be data
yeah,
omission.
yeah,
So it's important to kind of we have it as a visual tool,
hmm,
and it will be API callable as well, but we do not embed it in our AVM models just because there can be a little too much bias and in the wrong direction with doing that.
oh, for sure. I mean, but every lender is going to want access to that, buddy. I mean, it's what's going to happen. But also too is and I don't know if you're cleaning this data, but police officers write down the wrong addresses sometimes. Just saying. And it could
Yeah,
be, there's a very difference between North Jones Road and South Jones Road, especially if like in Houston, Texas. And it could be like you could be on the opposite side of the city and they're busy and I get it. And God bless them. They're awesome people and we need more of them. Go be a cop. I'm just saying. But but yeah, but they get busy and sometimes they write down the wrong, and it could really matter. And especially when you're trying to do crime data, it's always good to kind of, I'm sure, I don't know if y'all are actually verifying everything, but it can be some of those things. I mean, look, I've had like, I'm telling you, PTSD. I've had things like happen to me, done 60 real estate transactions, 60, at least that. And I've had everything happen. I think
yeah,
everything happened. Shootings on my property. I've had all sorts of things. Like
yeah,
people, yeah, I don't like to use the word hood, but some of my properties were in a not desirable area. But, everybody needs a place to live. I was trying to give them a clean,
yeah,
safe place to
exactly.
live.
And I think what's exciting about this too is like, where we see ourselves going with this is not just like plotting, but also
Hmm.
can we help police, like we want to work with local cities and help use
Yep.
machine learning to predict where crime is. If I need to place police officers on a route at like 8 p.m. on a Friday,
Yes.
like
Hmm.
where's the most optimal path to where they're likely to find crime? So like
Yeah.
that's a use case we see that
Oh,
helps. Everyone wants to deter crime. Nobody likes it.
yes.
And that's just
Yeah.
good for everybody as a society. And then there's also use cases where like, hey, like the Neil Bawa example earlier, if I want to like predict which areas are going to blow up, like
Hmm.
decreasing is like a massive
Yep.
signal. Like if I can
Yeah.
find, hey, our AI insights say that crime has decreased significantly over the last 3 months here. Okay, that could be an area to watch then.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah.
Maybe there's more security, better police routing, etc. But we're
Yeah.
excited. One product we're very
No,
excited about.
that's super awesome. And it leads all into the smart cities. Like it leads there, right?
Yeah.
So if you can use data from buildings. Like we have a lot of smart buildings and we have really dumb cities. And we're not connecting the dots
Yeah.
between what the buildings are using and on an everyday basis to underwrite deals or whatever, and then giving that access to the cities is invaluable. I mean, and sometimes some of the stuff the cities are doing, they're not giving to the buildings, like to make better sense of that we got to work together. Like from transportation, like cities are getting smarter around transportation and how do we do, and that's key for real estate.
Yeah,
But then if we could look at, I mean, if they had something around crime and how to like watch the flow of crime or like predict like you probably want to stick 3 cops over here because the last year around this time of the year invariably your statistics go up to something's going to happen, right?
right.
I mean, generally they know because they could kind of track over time, but using AI to do some of that stuff is just super cool. And I'm sure, I don't know. I'm not in police departments around the United States to know what the hell they're using. I have no idea. But
Yeah,
smarter policing is always is a very cool thing. It'll be especially since go be a cop. So say we don't have enough of those. But if you're not going to be a cop, well, then develop technology to help the cops because
yeah,
we need
yeah.
them.
Safer cities helps everybody. I mean,
It
all
does. It helps
so
safer cities and better education, and all our real estate valuations would go through the roof. Like that's,
exactly.
it's one of the things back in the day when I was a real estate developer. I would donate to the local schools. It was a good thing to do, number one, but I knew it was going to increase my real estate value, so it was kind of selfish. But
Yeah, no,
but if you have better schools because they have more resources, your real estate values go up. Every real estate developer should do this. You should donate to your local schools because it
yeah.
does. It does where it comes back to you in spades if you do it, for sure. It
Yeah,
does.
absolutely. We'll talk about this some other time, but we have a plan with that as well with our AI initiative, especially where I'm from, because it's not like an AI hub like Austin or San Fran or anything like that. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of my goals in particular is to kind of spread the AI wealth, so it's not just concentrated in a few cities.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's it doesn't care where it is. AI doesn't care. So, I mean, that's awesome. So you're in Miami now, right? But you grew up in outside of Philly, right? Somewhere in there.
yeah, I grew up, I grew up outside of Philly, like Lancaster County, and then I've lived all over since then. San Diego for 6 years. I lived
Hmm.
in Biloxi, Mississippi for a year. I lived in the Carolinas for a year or so, the Middle East for a couple of years, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty much
You were a
settled in.
Marine, so you were going all over the place.
Exactly. You're pretty much set on being all over the place
Uh-huh.
when you're in the
Yeah.
military. So that's part of the sacrifice.
I get the San Diego reference. My dad was there too. So, yeah. So
Beautiful city.
my dad was a Marine from 62 to 66. So, and he was in Vietnam, like towards the very beginning of Vietnam. So, yeah. Yeah. So he's 82 now. And he still acts like a Marine, by the way. Oh my Lord. He still knows his number. Like, what do you call it? Your military number, whatever. He knows what it is. Like, he can say, what's your, blah, blah, blah," and he goes, "Da, da, 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 da." I'm like, Dad, you're 82. You can remember that, but not what you ate yesterday. Like, I don't
Yeah,
get it, but whatever.
your
Yeah.
second social security number basically, and then you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
reference it all the time.
For
It's funny because
sure.
I do too. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
something you're
no,
ingrained in your head. So,
yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Well, okay, let's show me your stuff, man. Let's do it.
yeah, let's do it. Let me just get something set up here so that we can get this ready. Okay, so what we'll do is kind of start. Let's go to San Francisco. That'd be a good place to start.
Awesome.
So, when we talk about like what does this mean? Like we think about 80,000 median income, and right now we're looking at like, well, I guess let's go to San Francisco actually. So these are different like county subdivisions, like cities, towns, etc. If I zoom even further out, I can look at counties. So this is
Hmm.
Costa County, Alameda County, and you can all see they're very desirable. Now, if I compare, I'm comparing to the country. If I compare to the state, you'll see the colors change a little bit. And these
Hmm.
colors are just kind of intuitive, where green is very good, all the way to red, which is kind of like very, very poor, essentially. And you can see we have all these top level indices. I mentioned our overall socioeconomic score, which is basically just a heuristic for, hey, how desirable is this area? Like I just quickly want to know. And then we have income, education, job diversity, all these different things, all the way down to weather hazards as well. So you can see this is kind of along the San Andreas Fault. So the weather hazards are a little rough here as far as like earthquake risk. There's some hailstorm risk, some tsunami risk. So this is looking at the
Cool.
county level.
Mm-hmm.
If I, and yeah, right now we're looking at compared to the state, but I can compare to the country instead. And then you can see as I zoom, it kind of changes what I'm looking at. So now I'm looking at county subdivision level, which again is kind of cities, towns, municipalities, same kind of concept. When I zoom in here, these get cut up even smaller into census tracts. Now it's getting interesting because we can kind of see these different neighborhoods here um, within
Cool.
San Francisco. And you'll see
Uh-huh.
it's a big difference when I compare it to country versus county. So you see when I compare to county, the color dynamic kind of changes because within San Francisco County is very desirable, but this is kind of giving a darker weight on like how do these compare within the county. So
Mm-hmm.
like 35,000 per capita income, that may be very high in like Tulsa, Oklahoma, but in San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco, it's like very close to the bottom. So um, that's kind of where we were able to use those distinctions.
Very
And
cool.
I can compare, I can switch to grade and look at the 0 to 100, or I can look at an index. Sorry, grades are D minus to A plus. Indexes are 0 to 100. So it's very intuitive. Again, high is better, low is worse. If I zoom in here, I can see what are called block groups, which are basically just smaller, clusters of blocks that make up a census tract, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if I had a property here, like our algorithm would be avoiding these kind of more desirable areas, even though they're nearby, and kind of be looking over in this area and then this area as well. So
Awesome.
that's part of how our kind of algorithmic weighting works. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to Tampa for crime because we have a lot of data there right now. So again, you can see again the census tracts that we just talked about. You can shade this as
Mm-hmm.
well. But now I have a crime map turned on, so like, ooh, there's a lot of colors going on. So,
Oh, I
what
can validate all of that. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, and basically every time you move the map, it's calling our API, which is rendering the crimes on
Oh,
the
that's
map. And
cool.
then this boundary box, you can instantly see like, where crime is high. So we have kind of this Ybor City area, which I have a property in
Mm-hmm.
this area, unfortunately. Kind of this College Hill area,
Mm-hmm.
downtown Ybor City, this area near I-4 where there's a retail strip, and
Yep.
then this area kind of along the I-4 corridor, sorry, 275 corridor.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's a little overwhelming because we have a lot of crimes mapped. As I zoom in here, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
there's all these different crimes, right? Assault, driving under the influence. Again, this is like a
Yeah.
massive retail strip where there's a lot of, bars and such.
Yeah.
But you can see all these different crimes, and I'm looking at kind of like 2 years worth almost, but I can filter that out, so it's not going to show
Mm-hmm.
us now. So now we're only looking at about 6 months worth. And I can also just look at violent crime. So if I want to just look at, where's violent crime occurring? Now it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to plot these kind of petty crimes. You can see everything. It's kind of, well, some of these are drug narcotics, but we've aggravated assault, um,
Yeah.
burglary, right? So it's like, again, where do I want to kind of avoid if I'm trying to avoid violent crime? And it turns out it's
Yeah.
most of this area, some pockets over here. Um, the other thing that's cool is you kind of see where like income is highly uh, or I should say, incorrelated, reversely
Mm-hmm.
correlated with crime, right? So unsurprising, you'll see most of the high crime is in these lower income areas for the most part. Like this area in Seminole Heights, not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so that's again just a very intuitive way to kind of and yeah, you could
for sure.
one other thing I should mention here is that the crimes that are more deleterious or significant, you can see they have
Mm-hmm.
like a shade to them. So like this is a homicide, which is going to be the worst on our map, and it really pops out.
Yeah.
Um, that's the worst you can possibly have. Versus like petty crime, like
Yeah,
here's
those are
example
yellows. Yeah.
trespassing or like a minor offense or whatever that is,
Yeah.
curfew. So
I
you can see
gotcha.
that's very small compared to. So we're trying to kind of figure out this problem of how can you visually understand crime data because it's not just
Yeah.
plotting on a map and calling it a day.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so
No, that's super cool. That's awesome. That's great. So
yeah,
pad stats is what it's called, huh? Pad stats.
yeah, we're a SaaS platform. We have like SaaS monthly subscriptions, and then you have credit
Mm-hmm.
based as well. So one other thing I wanted to get into here is our machine learning models for valuation. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I have maybe let's just say a duplex, right?
Yep.
Or I can or a triplex maybe. Let's say 3 units. So maybe I have maybe have a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, a 1 bed,
Mm-hmm.
1 bath studio.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, I'm a value add investor. What's this going to look like after it's fully remodeled? And then some amenities, in unit washer, central air, off street parking. I
Mm-hmm.
click get rental estimate here, and it's basically going to call our ensemble of machine learning models and give us like a precise value prediction.
Cool.
Normally, this should be a lot faster. It should be like 2 seconds, but since I haven't really warmed
Dude,
it up,
it's all good. It's like the worst, right? You're doing a demo and you're like, why isn't this working? I mean, it's like every SaaS founder's nightmare. Like, I think I
yeah,
have nightmares of it too. Like, like
it did work. Thankfully, it took
there
a
you
little longer,
go. That's
but
awesome.
so you can
Hmm.
see an overview here by unit breakdown,
Hmm.
and that are estimated basically a deterministic value for rent. So if I had a gun, so if I'm the machine learning models, I have a gun to my head, this is what the
Hmm.
unit will rent for. But on top of
Yeah,
that, we give you a full probabilistic distribution as well. So not just
that's
not just
cool.
like one value, but like if it's a more competitive market, maybe I want to look more at the Q1 value.
Hmm.
And if it's 2021, maybe I'm willing to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yep,
Uh,
that's
so
awesome.
again, better map here, so you can see a lot of these comparables. You can see the kind of
Hmm.
income within the county and how that
Hmm.
compares. So this is the most similar comp, I believe. Yeah. So you can scroll through the photos and you can kind of see, okay, this is C2 clearly, which we have here as well. This has off-street parking. Here's a socioeconomic score, and this is a
Hmm.
small family building. So most of these
Yeah,
are going to be small multifamily because that's what we selected here.
yeah.
Um, and it's trying to find C2 comps within the neighborhood. So these are all mostly C2. This is kind of on the fence. Let's say it's maybe closer to C3, which actually, yes, it is C3.
Awesome.
So yeah, you can do that, and then if I scroll down, here's the 1 bed, 1 bath, which has different comps as well. Um, Still pulling like this one's close in square footage, but it's one more bedroom, so you can see that. But it's in the same neighborhood, so the algorithm's doing its best to find properties that are
Yeah,
possible, basically.
that's
Um,
great. So who's
yeah,
your ideal customer? And we've got like a minute left, but who's your ideal customer? What do you think?
yeah, I would say it's primarily these boutique funds, kind of like yourself when you're doing multifamily, right? It's like you don't
Hmm.
have maybe don't have $250,000 to pay a team of developers to like build these
Yeah,
out and have all this data. And it's like I just need a plug and play solution that I can use right away.
that's
And
cool.
we also have a market for like real estate investors, which is kind of like the bigger pockets folks that are kind of just getting started at 30 a month. And
Yeah.
then we also have enterprise solutions, which allow for the map integration, API calls, things like that.
So how do
So,
people get a hold of you?
best way to find me, I would say, on X is Shawn Bhatti, just my name.
Hmm.
LinkedIn, you can search Shawn R. Bhatti, it should come up there. And then same on Instagram, Shawn R. Bhatti. Please follow us as well at PadSets. Um, on X, there's an underscore. So if you follow us on X, there's PadSets underscore. On any other platform, it should just be PadSets. But that's the best way to get a hold of us or
All
me and
right.
the demo.
Well,
So
great. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. That's great.
yeah,